Hello everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another video here on my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be playing with the new Spellbinders Club products. I have the wax seal of the month and I also have the stencil of the month, but this is what the wax seal of the month looks like. It is called Lily of the Valley and it's oval, so it's a little bit different than some of the others that have come out that are just a straight circle. And I do like that it's an oval. I think that's kind of fun, really. And I'm going to pull that out and show you. The oval itself is actually a little bit smaller than the circle, and you'll really be able to tell that when we actually put it in with the beads. But it's really pretty. It's just a really nice flower, and you'll see that a little bit better, like I said, once we actually do the beads. Now, the beads that came with my wax seal, and I don't know, maybe everybody gets the same, maybe it's different, but I have Fern is the color that I have, and I did get some Fern last month. So we're going to pull those out and we're going to use those. But this is how the bags look. And then our stencil of the month is 4 stencils. And these are 4 separate stencils. They're all kind of along the same lines. They're floral, but they are used separately. I'm sure you could probably put them over each other if you wanted. You could try that, I suppose. But these are meant to be used separately. And then this one also has that circle mask. You can use it or not, which is pretty cool. And you could also use the circle for other things as well. All right, so I'm going to bring in my makeshift splatter box. I want to focus on using distress spray stains and distress spray oxide sprays. So that's what I want to do today. I picked out a color palette. This first color that we're going to be using is called Lost Shadow. It's one of the newer colors that Tim Holtz has come out with. And yeah, I have gone ahead and collected all the minis in all of the distress colors now. I guess that last one was his final one, which is exciting and sad all at the same time because, I always love all the new colors. But we're going to start with that Lost Shadow, and this is my distress spray stain. And I don't have all the distress spray stains in all the colors. That's, a goal for eventually, right? But I'm just going to spray these through the stencil. This is onto some watercolor cardstock because I love how it looks on watercolor cardstock, and especially since this is a wet medium. I didn't want to overwhelm regular cardstock with something wet because then it just doesn't always look right. So we've got just some watercolor cardstock, the Lost Shadow, and then this is how those are going to look. I'm going to leave those basically how they are. I'll trim them down later once they're dry. But now we're going to bring in just some scraps of watercolor cardstock and we're going to use our other colors. I am going to use some Distress Oxide spray because that's what I have in the Saltwater Taffy. And I'm going to spray that all over these 2 pieces. But yeah, Distress Spray Stain for these, or Distress Oxide spray for these ones. And I love all the texture that you seem to get from these, like the splattery bits. That's why I love doing this too. As far as using it for die cuts, because that's the purpose here. And this final color was some chipped sapphire in the Distress Oxide spray. And so I'm going to heat set those. And then this last piece of cardstock, because I don't have the dried marigold in any of the spray stains, the oxide or whatnot, I just use my oxide pad on some of that cardstock just to kind of give it a little texture, and that's why it's not like, I didn't want to make sure it was like completely covered. I wanted there to be some white spots in it. And then I'm just splattering some water all over it, hitting that with my heat tool, because I definitely want to make sure that these are all nice and dry before I run those through my die cutting machine with this die. Now this die is the Fresh Picked Berries dies. They came out last month and y'all seem to love them. I mean, I loved them too. So that's what I'm using because it's just such a really beautiful die, and I thought I'd use this color combo. And I had already sprayed and die cut out the leaves using some cracked pistachio, and that was some Distress Oxide spray for those. So now we're just going to start piecing everything together. I'm moving the little pieces to their putting the like ones together so that it's easier for me to assemble. And then I'm just going to use some liquid glue to assemble all of my little berries. I love how there's that dried marigold peeking through from behind the saltwater taffy. It's just a cute look. I love it. And then we can now start assembling our berries onto our leaves, which is fairly simple to do, and you can kind of use your best judgment on which berries go where. but I've die cut out several because the point is to make 4 cards. And I'm going to have lots of leftover berry pieces, and we're going to have some leftover leaves, and we're going to use those on the inside of our cards. But now I'm going to take the tops of those berries, and we're going to put those on top of our berries using our pickup stick and a little bit of glue. I don't think there's any berries out there that look like this, but, you know, using my imagination, I thought this was a fun color combo. All right, so then we're going to finish up. These are just the leftover berries we have. Now, once those are all done and assembled, I'm going to set those off to the side to just let that glue dry a little bit longer. It definitely doesn't take long, but I am going to move on to making our wax seals. So as you can see, I've got my wax seal kit out that Spellbinders carries. And I'm starting off with actually 5 beads, 5 of those wax beads, the Fern. This is excessive. You don't need that much. Normally what I like to do when I'm starting out to make wax seals, especially if my spoon is clean, I will start with 5 typically, like I'm doing here. And then I will move on to 4 after there's a little bit of a layer of wax in there. And in this case, because the oval is a little bit smaller than the typical circles, 4 would have been plenty in this case when I started out, and then I could move on to 3. And I eventually do move on to 3. But yeah, so we started with 5. And then because this is an oval, I'm trying to not necessarily make it look circular. I'm trying to make it look more like an oval. And then I'll just set that on there. And then you'll get to see what that actually looks like here in a second. But yeah, I've got another one going, and I put 4 in there this time. And to clean off my spoon, I will use just a baby wipe. That works out really great. But take a look at that. That's what you're going to have. It's so pretty, and I really love the Fern color. It looks great. It actually really matches the cracked pistachio pretty well. So we're going to heat up our next one. I'll show you what that looks like with 4. Then we're eventually going to start mixing some colors because I have that cracked pistachio, dried marigold, saltwater taffy, lost shadow, and the chipped sapphire color combination going on for my cards. I decided to bring in some cloudy sky along with our Fern, and so we're going to heat those 2 together and see what we get. And it's pretty. It almost reminds me of the earth right there, just kind of looking at, you know, the water and like a globe. Where the mind goes, right? And so then I'll just push that one into there. We'll let that one dry a little bit. And then you can take a look at how pretty that looks together. This one kind of got a little messed up with my fingers, so I'm definitely going to make some more. And in the end, I start doing 3. So I've got 1 of the cloudy sky and 2 of the Fern, and I'll heat set that. And then you can see the difference between using 4 and using 3 with this oval wax seal. Almost looks like it wouldn't quite be enough, but when that wax seal settles in there, it works really nicely and it gives a nice border. Now, obviously, you might like the bigger border, and I'm kind of partial to the smaller border, but the bigger one isn't so bad either. So we'll peel that away, and you can take a look at how the smaller border looks. And then I'll make a few more, and then I'll set those off to the side, and then we got to do our sentiments. This is a previously released Glimmer hot foil plate that I forget which month it was for, but it's now available to just buy. And this one's called All You Need. And so I've got some white Glimmer hot foil, and we're going to use our quick trimmer to trim down what we need. I've got some navy cardstock. And then what I do is I just put my Glimmer hot foil down, and then I put my plates on top of that, and I use a little bit of mint tape to hold everything in place while my system is heating up. And I'm just trying to make sure that there's going to be enough room to be able to use the die that comes with this plate. So once everything's attached, I will flip this all over so that the plate is actually right on the system, and then we'll wait for that green light to tell you it's ready. Hit the timer. If you're interested in Glimmer hot foiling, I have plenty of videos back on my channel. But that's what that's going to look like after I'm done doing it, and then we'll run it through the die cutting machine with the die that comes with it. And now we're going to color our wax seals. I'm using the silver deco foil marker that you can get at the Spellbinders store. I'll have it linked down below. Like everything here will be linked down below. And now we can start actually assembling some cards. So I'm going to just put some glue on the back of our watercolor panel that I did trim down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I'm putting that down onto a navy panel that is 5 1/2 inches by 4 1/4, so that's the full front of an A2 size card. Everything is going to be flat on there. I'm not using foam tape on anything because I want this to be as fairly easy as possible to mail. And yes, you can mail those wax seals in your cards just fine. They're flat enough. So we're using liquid glue to adhere everything down. I love it. I love all the splattery look of all the Distress spray stains and the Distress Oxide sprays. And we're making a wedding card for this one. I've got thinking of you, just saying hello, and happy birthday. All of the typical ones, for me at least. We'll glue our wax seal right down. Glue works just fine, although Spellbinders does carry some little like glue dots that would hold them down too. And then I'm attaching that down to a white card base. Now I'm going to take those leftover bits. We have enough to put in all 4 of the inside of those cards. And so we've got some greenery, and we've got, I guess it's basically 2 berries for each one. And so I love bringing the outside in. Just makes everything seem a little bit more coherent. And it's a nice little pretty surprise when the recipient opens the card. And for this one, I did not attach down the wax seal because that's going to go on this really beautiful navy envelope. Oh, how fun is that? To receive that in the mail would be great. I love how this turned out. And I'll show you each of those cards. Very happy with how every one of them turned out. A little bit different, but still the same. And I think that's what makes it so much fun. So if you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. I will have a link down to my blog if you want to take a closer look at these. And thanks so much for stopping by, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.